Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the Quran, there are certain themes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put there for us to benefit. One of those themes are the stories of the past, the stories of the prophets, the stories of the previous nations, for us to take a lesson from those stories. And one of those conversations, which are one of the most intimate conversations in the entire Quran, and truly a beautiful passage, is the beginning of Surah Taha. And in this beginning ruku of Surah Taha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a conversation for the first time with Musa alayhi salam. And as we remember that Musa alayhi salam has a stutter, that tongue that could not speak fluently with man was the same tongue that spoke fluently with God. So Musa alayhi salam, in this first conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah asks him the question, as we know, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى, what is that in your hand, in your right hand, O Musa? And he says, قَالَ هِيَ عَصَاي, he says, it is my staff. But he doesn't stop there. He mentions three things. أَتَوَكَّأُ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى. The three things he mentions is, number one, I incline upon it. I use it as a form of laying upon it. I use it as a takya. أَتَوَكَّأُ عَلَيْهَا وَأَهُشُّ بِهَا عَلَى غَنَمِي. I use it to feed my sheep. I use it to break the leaves off of the trees for my herd. وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى. And for me in this staff are many, many benefits. So there are three things that he mentions. Number one, in its structure itself, it is something which is solid. It is something which is firm. Because of that, he's able to recline upon it. Number two is its transitive qualities. That he uses it for his own daily life. He uses it for different purposes. And of course he says, وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى, and he has many things to benefit from it. So this thing is structure, is solid itself, and then he's able to use it for many different purposes, and it has a lot of benefits for him in his life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within an instant turns it into something which is the complete opposite. فَإِذَا هِيَ حَيَّةٌ تَسْعَى. So lo and behold, it becomes a snake which starts to slither. So now it's not solid. Number one, its innate quality is removed. It's that one animal which does not have a structure, which does not have a solid structure. It's not firm, it's flimsy. Number two is that there's no benefit in this snake at all. You cannot derive any form of benefit from a snake. There's no form of risk you can take from it. Its poison is venomous. So there's no benefit within this snake at all. And number three, the thing that he used to use for his daily purposes, the way he would use his staff for his daily purposes, he can do nothing with the snake. So when in a split second, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes the entire quality structure of a staff to something which is very harmful, something which any man would run away. And in the ayah, Allah mentions that Musa alayhi salam started to run away. But at that point, it's very important that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands him and says, خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ. Everything from the dunyawi perspective, it looks like it's against you. It looks like this snake is going to harm you if you go close to it. But even though the zahir, what's apparent, looks like it's something harmful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands him that don't worry about the apparent. خُذْهَا, take it. وَلَا تَخَفْ, and don't fear. So this is something that we come across in our lives many times, is we look at the odds and we do all of our calculations, and we're trying to make sure that the outcome is such that we have the most benefit. But sometimes you need to take that risk and you need to have hope on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes you have to let go of those rational calculations. Sometimes you have to have tawakkul upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially when it comes to sacrificing for the deen, whether it's sending our kids to hifz, whether it's sending our kids to madrasa, whether it's different things. When you're trying to bring deen into your life, you will have many people saying things that if you're going to do this, how are you going to help your kids? If you're going to do this, how are you going to be successful in the dunya? When you turn towards the religion, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only sends shayateen through jinn, but through ins as well. That there are going to be certain voices, waswas from shaitan, but some of the waswas, as we know in Surah Nas, will come from mankind themselves. People will start saying things. So at this point, it's very important that when people start to say, especially when it comes to the deen, that how are you going to sustain yourself? How are you going to be successful in this dunya? At that point, you make sure, the same way Musa alayhi salam says, خُذْهَا وَلَا تَخَفْ, that when he grabs onto the staff, he doesn't question anything. It's a snake. he grabs onto the snake, you must also grab on and latch on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And regardless of how difficult it may look, if you have tawakkul upon Allah, then Allah will give you the greater success. And likewise we see when Musa alayhi salam, he comes, the army of Fir'aun is behind, the Red Sea is in front, and then everyone says around him, قَالَ أَصْحَابُ مُوسَى إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ. Everyone says, we have been caught. Then he says, قَالَ كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعِيَ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينِ. It's impossible for us to be caught. With me is my Lord, He will guide me. So that is where that tawakkul comes from. The initial tawakkul was built with that intimate conversation, and then we see the result that when all of the asbab are against him, he says, قَالَ كَلَّا, it's impossible. إِنَّ مَعِيَ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينِ. My Lord is with me. That is the true tawakkul that we want to build in our lives. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to build that tawakkul in our lives. سبحان الله بحمده سبحانك الله بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفر ونتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.